Hello and welcome to April's CIPR President's live session. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Advita Patel and I am the President for 2025 for the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. And if you haven't joined us on these lives before, this is your opportunity to engage with what's going on at CIPR, learn and understand about some of the events that are taking place. We're going to be having some conversations with some guests as well. And if you're watching this live or if you're watching that on replay, please do say where you're tuning in from, say hello to each other, because it's all about connecting with each other and each members as well. So these sessions are being live streamed on LinkedIn, on YouTube and on Instagram. So wherever you're watching from, welcome to our April session. So before I introduce our first guest, I've got a quick update to share with you about all the goings on at HQ. The first one, and John is here from us, from HQ, he's going to share a little bit more about this, but it's about the new lobbying report, No Rules Britannia. Hopefully, some of you have seen this and read about it, but if not, then John is going to come on later and talk a little bit more about it. But as part of our Lobbying for Good lobbying campaign, we published a report earlier this month comparing Westminster's lobbying register with similar countries in the West. The research exposes gaps in the UK's lobbying regime and limitations of the current public register, which captures the fewest lobbyists, even when it's adjusted for the population in the 9 jurisdictions that were analysed. So you can read more about this, and John is going to explain more about this as well. So if you're not familiar with the lobbying report or the lobbying rule, or even what lobbying is, then John's going to explain a little bit more about all of this and why CIPR is so vested and invested in this area. I also want to do a quick update on the internship guidance as well. So as part of our commitment in making PR more diverse and accessible, we're going to be publishing an updated guidance to help members and the wider industry create best practice internships and work experience programs that will allow people to consider a career in public relations so they can gain as much practical experience as they possibly can. So keep an eye out on our social media and newsroom later this week for an announcement and brush up on all of that kind of knowing, all that know and how to stuff on how to plan for a placement, how to recruit participants, how to evaluate performance, and also how you can provide onward career support. So before I invite Aileen on stage, and Aileen's one of our board members, I also want to take this opportunity to say a huge, huge congratulations to everyone who has been shortlisted for our CIPR Excellence Awards, which will be announced tomorrow or Wednesday. So look out for that. But well done for everyone for putting those applications in. From what I hear from the judging panel, it was a tough competition this year. And I'm excited for some of you to see whether you've been shortlisted or not and what that looks like. But even if you haven't, it's a great achievement to put yourself forward and celebrate some of the great work you have done. So look out for that announcement later this week as well. So without further ado, here is the wonderful Aileen Thompson. Welcome, Aileen. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks very much. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday.
So Aileen, you've been part of our CIPR board since January. So you're a newly elected board member. So for those of you, those people who haven't met you, would you be able to tell them a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, of course, absolutely. So as you can tell, I am Scottish. I was born and bred in one of the most beautiful parts of Scotland in the Moray Firth, which is also the centre of the country's whisky industry. And I went to university at Aberdeen, where I studied, eventually after chopping and changing, studied psychology and how the human mind influences behaviour. Really useful for a career in public relations. I have worked in all sorts of organisations and been involved in corporate affairs and public relations for all of my career. I've worked in-house and also for agencies in sectors including transport, innovation and technology, telecoms, pharmaceuticals and life sciences, infrastructure, and also consumer goods. And I guess my superpower, having stood back and looked at all my career, what does it all add up to? My superpower is all about strategic stakeholder engagement, which sees us aligning all the functions that are involved in public relations and corporate affairs, and making sure that we are not just protecting our reputation, but we're on the front foot and proactively building positive value and reputation, as well as business bottom line value for the clients and the organizations that we're working for. I have been a member of the CIPR for a very, very long time. I'm also a fellow, which I really enjoy, particularly on the mentoring side. I mentor a number of different people over the years, continue to do that. I am also a member of the Company of Communicators, which is one of the city livery companies. I am a judge for PR Week and other organisations, and also speak externally on communications. And I'm at this very moment right in between roles, having left one role and then looking at a new roles and the potential this year. So that's a little bit about me.
Love it. Oh my goodness, you've done so much. You just mentioned there about your degree was, what did you say, business, did you say psychology? What the human?
Yeah, so psychology, if you, yes, trying to explain to psychology to different people is sometimes difficult, and I think it hasn't done a very good job on its own marketing and brand profile, but it is all about understanding the human mind and how it then influences behavior as well as our thinking.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a perfect complement to the work that we do in public relations. Absolutely. I mean, I'm fascinated with organizational psychology and how we work and how we show up at work and what that looks like from a corporate sense of the world that we're in, especially if you think about the technology that's surrounding us right now, especially around artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
And it's great that tool is, when I'm advocate for AI, I think we need to kind of get on board with some of it. We also need to recognize that psychology stuff that you mentioned is something that it can't really be replicated, that human to human connection. And that's where I see our superpower as public relations and communication professionals, that connection and building that connection and doing that craft of kind of storytelling that the AI just can't seem to get right, because it's quite transactional in how it does. I mean, in 5 years, it might be completely different, but right now, from what you're sharing, I would say that, psychology complements our role incredibly well right now. So you've been a volunteer for CIPR for a long time. You said you're a fellow, and you've obviously been logging your points and all of that kind of stuff over the years. But why did you want to become a board member? What was that pull for you last year when you were appointed?
I think three reasons. One, I've been a board trustee and in previous organisations and charities. I've worked closely with boards, and I wanted to give something back to a sector that has shaped my career and my life. So that was the first reason. How could I get involved at a strategic level? Secondly, I undertook the chartership last year and had my eyes open to the wealth and value of content that the CIPR is producing and is available for members on its website, but also the process of understanding, learning new things as part of the chartership course, and the people I met was really motivating. So how could I continue to bring what I've learned and encourage others to consider chartership as part of their professional development? I can do that through the board. And then thirdly, I think we have arguably never been in such an interesting time for public relations and communications. It is impacting and our value is impacting businesses, particularly as the world goes through another volatile shift in its direction. And we are constantly being asked to give our views and judgment to either senior teams if we work in-house, or to our clients if we're working in agencies. And I think, therefore, being at the strategic sharp end as part of the board is helping me see what is it that we can do to support members so that they are enabled and equipped to deliver the best possible advice and guidance and see around the corners well before anybody else that we often are asked to deliver.
Amazing. And that's, you perfectly captured sentiment there, I would think, from many of our board members about why they would decide to put themselves forward for that role. So thank you so much for sharing that, Aileen. If you've got any questions for either one of us two, please do pop them in the comment section. We will get through them today. But I wanted to bring this comment up from Andrea Ronna, lovely name, which says, very interesting. I've never seen the link between that educational standing and PR world until now. So I think she's referring to the psychological link between what we spoke about before. And I think it is something that a lot of folks don't often connect. And I always say, and I've started to say probably in the last 4 or 5 years, that I'm a business leader with communication expertise. And yes, that seems to relate more to the work that I believe we're getting involved in from a leadership perspective. And it seems to work a lot when you talk to leaders as well, because, I would say that I would argue, and it'd be great to hear other people's point of view, that is what we do. Our expertise is communication, but we're leaders within our own right. And business, understanding business and the economy around that and what that means for the clients that we support or the organizations that we're supporting, understanding that element is critical for us to have that voice at that kind of senior strategic level that often we can be missed from, especially if we're just seen as tactical voices as well out there. So I'd love to hear other people's viewpoint on that, by the way. See what you think.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more, Advita. I think we earn the respect for our profession by, first of all, understanding business and how it operates, understanding the drivers, the priorities of commercial success, and then really adding our value as to how communications, be that internal, be it external, be it stakeholder engagement, whatever we want to call it, that myriad mosaic of functions that we have and expertise that we have, how that then can help those drivers and deliver commercial success, as well as all the other elements that we're asked to deliver. So I think, and we need to therefore make sure that we are on top of the changing pressures and opportunities in the business world for us to continue to really attract that respect and have that seat at the boardroom table, have that seat at the executive team, be seen by clients as senior leaders, delivering more than just the operational benefits of our profession.
Yeah, I honestly could not agree more with you. So rather than my question, I'm going to ask you Adrian's question, which is, he would be interested to know from you, what is the biggest challenge facing PR practitioners right now? Which is a great question.
Yeah, brilliant question. I think couple of things I see from everything that I'm reading, consuming, and people I'm speaking with is, first of all, the total fragmentation of the traditional channels that we would have all used and continue to use as we reach out to different audiences. No longer have we got a static media, no longer is print media the dominant force. How can we as PR practitioners ensure that we're reaching a myriad of very important, different and highly fragmented audiences of all different backgrounds? How do we get our messages to land with those audiences whilst getting a hand on all of those channels? And how do we advise our clients and the organizations that we're working in, which are the ones we really need to pay attention to, and where can we look at different types of engagement? So I think that's one really interesting area, and I put AI into all of that as well. And then secondly, the question of trust, because it has been eroded completely through all the organizations and institutions that, say, 10 years ago, the public, as well as other audiences, would have said, this is who I get my information from. And as we know that there's no one just like me, that go to someone like me for my information, and whom I trust is how people are choosing to get information. I think that is worrying and a concern, and that we need to be right on the forefront of understanding how do we build and restore trust amongst the different channels and the different sources of information and news, so that we can help businesses and clients really deliver what it is they want to deliver. So trust and fragmentation and staying on top of understanding what's behind all of those and the role we can play to build those up again is important.
Amazing. Well, Aileen, I could talk to you all day about this topic, and I'm sure the folks listening in could listen to you all day as well. We've had a couple more questions in there, which we'll get back to you offline. So if you check them out whenever you get a minute, Aileen, I think that the team would appreciate that as well. But
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time. I know we'll get to hear more from you over the year. If you want to connect with Aileen, then please do make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn. That's probably one of the best places, I'm assuming, Aileen, for them to connect with you.
Definitely up for that.
And if anybody's got any further questions about the topics we've just discussed, and or if you want to talk about any future topics, then please pop them in the comments and we'll make sure we cover that off. But thank you so much for your time and your contribution today, and I will see you very soon.
Thanks, Advita. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for some great questions as well. Thank you.
See you soon. That was a fantastic conversation with Aileen. And I just want to say that if you are interested in potentially being part of board, then the nominations are now open. So please do check them out for 2026. You can go onto the CIPR website and see what the application process is for that. And if anybody's got any questions about board, what's involved and what's required, then please do drop us a note. Myself, Fazana, Alistair can help you answer some of those questions that you might have. So cipr.co.uk, you'll see more information about the nominations on there. Now, I am bringing on stage the wonderful Mr. John Gerlis. How are you, John?
Very good. Thank you, Advita. Hi, everybody.
So, John, I invited you here today to talk about the Lobbying Act and the lobbying campaign that we are running at the Institute. But before we get into it, do you just want to let the folks know, if they haven't met you or heard of you? I'm sure they have and seen you plenty of times. But just in case, who are you? What do you do at CIPR? And how long have you worked there?
Yes, so hi everyone, I'm John Gerlis. I am the Head of Public Relations and Policy at the Institute. So I have a rather brilliant job and sometimes slightly daunting task of doing PR for the PR Institute. But it's, as I say, largely a very pleasant and enjoyable experience. And I have been working here for just over 7 years now, which, funnily enough, doesn't even put me in a sort of top percentage of sort of the length of time some people have been working at the Institute for, but it's flown by. It's been brilliant. So 7 and a bit years already.
Wow, but it just flies by the time. I mean, the pace of change, the different things that you get to work on, and the people, right? I think that just, I mean, I've been part of like the board now for the last few years, and I can see the different things that you do and work on, one of which is the lobbying campaign. And I have to admit, before I became a board director for CIPR, I was probably one of those professionals that didn't really engage much with the lobbying stuff. I wasn't sure about how it involved me or why I should be interested in it. And I just kind of put it in the kind of public affairs camp. That's who it's for. It's not really, nothing to do with internal comms or employee experience or communication in general. And that was my naivety, I would say, because I didn't do the diligence that I probably should have done to understand a little bit more about it. But talking to other members, I would say that most folks are probably in that similar camp as I was in a few years ago. So would you be able to tell us a little bit more about the lobbying campaign and explain why it's so important to our profession?
Yeah, well, I think Aileen did a really good job there of talking about the sort of erosion of trust in our institutions and our businesses. And you only have to look at any public polling when it comes to the trust that people have in our political institutions or the trust that people have in our businesses. And often the relationship between the two contributes to the erosion that people have in trust. And that has real tangible impacts on the reputation of our businesses, on the view of the UK, in our example, as a good, stable place to do business. We often talk about the need to build trust and build our reputation, and yet I'm always slightly frustrated at the lack of tangible approaches that people take to actually how ways that we can actually start to do that. So one of the ways that we can do that is obviously to improve the standards that people have and the view that people have of the standards that we take in the approach we take to politics and the business relationship with politics. And that's very much where we're coming from. The campaign is really about improving democracy, building trust in our politics and in our political institutions, and increasing the reputation of business. All businesses engage with politics to some extent, whether it's the impact of legislation or regulations. Just look at the national insurance contribution rise that's happened and been announced and happening very shortly. And so I would say it's a responsibility for businesses to engage politically, whether that's on a constituency level, whether it's through a membership organisation, or whether it's directly. But with the engagement in politics, I think there has to be a degree of accountability and transparency that comes with that. And right now, the laws in this country do not allow businesses to be able to be transparent or accountable about the political engagement that they have. So the Lobbying for Good lobbying campaign is very much about changing the law to make sure that public affairs professionals have to be a little bit more accountable when it comes to some of the transparency work. So operationally, it changes things for lobbyists. The impact of that work, though, is very much targeted about increasing the reputation and improving the reputation of those businesses, of the environment that we all operate in, and of our institutions. And that's of benefit to everyone. So I'm very clear that this is of value to the wider membership, because what we're ultimately trying to do is create a more positive environment, and actually essentially, see the UK as a positive place to come and do business, and as a stable economy and political environment for businesses to operate in. So that's why I'm very clear that this isn't just about the operations. This is very much about the environment.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's what, when I heard you speak about it, and I've read all the reports and stuff on it, it was clear that, as public relation professionals, all of us should have a vested interest in this, because it is going to change the way we work. It's going to help businesses more accountable, as you said. And we talked about trust. That is a big part of what we're about and what we're doing. And there's a question in the comments actually from Anthony about how do we get our leaders to have the needed trust we need them to have in public relations. And there's loads of different answers to this, Anthony, I would say, and probably not enough time for this session that we've got, but something for us that we will explore more about and give more help and support to our members about this. But a part of this is making sure the environment around us is doing the right thing, and where we can support our organisations to do the right thing and be more transparent in order to build trust, because that's where trust does deplete when transparency isn't there, and it's all a bit in some parts unethical and not moral in what's happening around there. So I completely understand and recognise the need for us to push this and stand by it and be the advocates in this space. And what you've achieved so far is incredible. And I'm going to ask you about your proudest moment so far, not only in this campaign but general, but if it is this campaign, because I know we spoke about this offline, and I want to see if you say this. So what is your proudest moment, John, while you've been doing this campaign?
Yeah, so ultimately, working in a policy role, as I know some of you watching will do, getting small wins along the way to the big win, which is ultimately legislative change, has to be celebrated. Ultimately, we're looking, for that change to happen, and that will be the big moment of celebration. But it's right and correct, I think, to celebrate your small wins on the way, and we've had many of them. We've had some great press coverage, so some of you may have seen, and if you haven't, you can have a look at the FT last week did a big article about this, which I was interviewed for and quoted in. We've been in Parliament several times and had some really, some brilliantly attended events, including by parliamentarians. I've given evidence to a couple of select committees on this specific topic, but on a sort of broader topic related to this as well, all of which I think does a good job of one, being able to get the message across, but two, being able to position the Institute at some of the highest, policy making levels in the country. And it's led to some absolutely fantastic opportunities, some very good relationships, Hopefully, as I say, the opportunity to really talk wider about the value that public relations can bring to our organisations. The proudest moment, however, I can pinpoint to a couple of weeks ago. So we had the launch of our report, No Rules Britannia. We launched it at an event in Parliament. And we had Baroness Bennett from the Green Party attending. She took the report away with her. And the next morning, and I'll sort of bring the tone down sort of slightly, or maybe the emotion in an aspect, but my grandmother passed away that morning, actually, the morning after we launched the report, which was expected and fine. So I was just talking to my family and obviously very upset. And then I got a text from someone saying, "Oh my gosh, have you seen what Baroness Bennett said in the Lords last night?" And I went on to the clip, which was sent to me, and she was there holding our report and quoting some words that I'd written in the chamber. And it was a very sort of surreal moment because my grandmother was, my biggest fan and probably was a bit too proud about all the silly things I'd done. And this was something that legitimately had some reason to be proud of. So it was a sort of very nice sort of bittersweet moment where obviously the sadness of that sort of personal moment was there, but actually a genuinely proud moment and something she would have been very proud of. So to have some words sort of read out and a report that I'd worked hard on with a lot of other people, I should say, it certainly wasn't all my work, there in front of you in the chamber was pretty special. And so I think that the emotion of that day, but also the sort of the impact of the report launch and the event the day before, I think all culminated in quite a sort of moment of pride. So I think that was great, and it's great to have a sort of parliamentarian and someone in the Lords, directly asking a minister to read a report that we've just written, and that's led to some more engagement with the government as well. So that was a really good moment, and as I say, important to sort of celebrate these moments when you get them as well. And I hope members get to see that as well, because we are really, I think, able to raise our own profile as an institute with these moments too. So, as I say earlier, it's about the wider industry, and I think even this campaign, although it's talking about a very particular piece of legislation, it does give us the opportunity to talk about some of the wider points we want to make as well.
Love that, John. Absolutely love that. I mean, having that, I'm a big, people may not know this or may know this, but I do believe in that the universe, and I'm a little bit spiritual, but the fact that it happened on the day, I always think there's someone looking over you, and hopefully that was your grandma kind of, giving her the nudge and showing you how great you are at this work. And I, for one, do want to thank you for all your incredible work you've done on this lobbying campaign, because it isn't easy. It isn't easy to get people to pay attention, to get Parliament to even talk about it, to get invited to Westminster to share the research and stuff that you've done around it as well. So huge congratulations and well done from my perspective as well. And I know our members will appreciate the work that's taking place. If people do want to get involved or know more about it, where's the best place for them to get more involved or understand more about the work you're doing?
Yeah. So there's information online, obviously, so people can search "lobbying for good lobbying." We've got, if you are actively engaged in lobbying, we've got our UK lobbying register. Again, if you do a quick Google search of that, and that's a free and open and universal register for people engaged in lobbying to register to, and that does a really good job of demonstrating to the wider public about the role and responsibilities that lobbyists have, and the sort of approach to standards that they take to their own work. So sign up to that. And then I think it's just about making noise. As I said, this is very much about the wider industry and the reputation and view of businesses as much as people working in politics or in politicians. So share some of the reports, make some noise, commit yourself to and get in touch with us if you're willing to commit yourself to supporting the campaign. We are thinking about the next steps, and I think that will probably involve members more at this stage now. So get in touch with me via LinkedIn or an email. My contact details are fairly easy to find. You're welcome to write to your MPs as well to ask them to sort of get in touch about this topic. But get in touch and actually let's, as an industry, let's actually talk a bit about why we're proud of the work we're doing, and why we understand the responsibility we have to be transparent and accountable to the work that we do, whether it's political or not. And I think the more we do that, as I said at the very beginning, that's a very tangible way for us to start to build trust back in some of the work that we're involved in and the work that we do. And I think if we want to improve our own reputation as an industry, as a profession, this is a very, very tangible way for us to do that. So do get in touch, but do talk about this and shout about it loudly, because I think it's one way that we can really improve our own reputation as a whole.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. And the wonderful Louisa shared the link as well in the comments for you to check it out in more detail. It was a really important topic for us to chat about, John, so I appreciate your time and your contribution. Thank you so much for coming along today. And if anybody, as John said, wants to get in touch or involved, then connect with John on LinkedIn. But thank you, John, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Advita. Take care.
So we're slightly over time, but I wanted both Aileen and John to talk about some very important topics. I hope you found that useful. But before I go and sign off for this week, I wanted to say a huge congratulations to our recent chartership professionals. So well done to everybody on here. Absolutely fantastic achievement, and I hope you're celebrating and recognizing this great achievement that you have. I put in the banner. I'm going to put the banner up again so you can see, but these are the next dates for chartership. If you're interested in becoming a chartered member, please do get in touch with us. We've got chartership buddies, we've got blogs, we've got videos, we've got all sorts of assets to help you understand a little bit more about chartership and what's involved. So please do get in touch. You can also save a little bit of money if you decide to become chartered. So reach out to our membership team and they will give you more information on that. And I know some of you will be waiting with bated breath on who achieved what points at the end of the cycle last cycle, which ended on March the 31st. So all the points are now in and they've been calibrated and added up. And these are our final top 10 loggers. So congratulations to Vincenta, who has maintained and retained that top spot at 398. But we've also have a few people jump onto the list, including Dr. Kevin Ruck and Fazana, who is president-elect and will be president next year, showing me up here, obviously, and Mandy Pierce as well. So well done to everybody who logged their points. The cycle has now started again, and I will be sharing the points every month on there so you can see what folks are up to. And congratulations also to those people who have recently received their fellowship. So I'm just going to read their names out because I think this is a really important update as well. So we've got 4 new fellows who have been appointed, and it's been an absolute honour to award the fellowships to Stuart Argo, Catherine Condy, Elizabeth McLean, and Peter Lisney. So congratulations, all of you, for that fantastic work, and congratulations on becoming a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. And before I go, the final point I want to share with all of you is about financial support. So I want to make sure that everybody knows, those of you who are watching on replay, watching live, that we've got your back. And we know it's a very difficult economic climate at the moment. I've had so many conversations with members and non-members about just how tough things are at the moment. So what we've done is put together a practical support for members who are feeling that kind of financial squeeze, from payment breaks for your membership to reduced fees for some of the iProvision stuff that we're doing as well. So iProvision is the CIPR charity, especially for those who may find themselves in slightly difficult times. So do check out iProvision and the work that they are doing as well. We've also got some free training, there's some mental health support, and there's flexible options for the smaller agencies out there as well. You can find out more about the financial support that CIPR offer on the website under membership and cost of living. And I'll make sure that I share that link with all of you in the comments as well, so you can see that and access it. But thank you so much for joining us today for this month's live. Next month's live will be on the 20th of May. And I'll be joined by Laurianne Hubbard, who is one of our board members as well. So it's slightly earlier. Normally we try and do it in the last week of the month, but I'm traveling next month, so we're going to do it a little bit earlier. I hope to see some of you there. If you've got any questions, any thoughts, anything at all, I saw a few comments around trust. So I'm thinking that we may do a webinar or a session on trust as well, because it seems to be an important topic. But any suggestions, thoughts, ideas that you would like us to run or the groups to run, then please do get in touch. I'm just going to quickly put up the events banner so you can see the events that are taking place over the next 30 days. So make sure you take a screen grab of this. All of these are worth points if you log your CPD points, so make sure you check them out. And most of these are virtual as well, so you can access to it if you're an international member as well. But thank you so much for coming along today, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.